Welcome. Or should I say, oh gosh, how do you say welcome in Spanish?
Hola,
No, that's hola is just hello. Beni.
bienvenidos.
Thank you. Oh,
You're
that.
welcome.
I'm so sorry to anyone that speaks Spanish. That was not great. Anyway, welcome to hopefully what will be a way more exciting Mexico GP show, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody. This is Box Box Goss. Now, you know, life happens. And so, as you can see, it's just the fabulous, wiser, more mature of us on the show today. We are sending positive vibes to Selim and Afi. And we can't wait to have them back for Brazil. But now it's Mexico. We're gonna have a great time. But before we get into that, and along with our special guests, because they are so special, we are so excited to introduce them. Let's talk about news. Um, hmm, there's a lot that's happened, between the week that we haven't been on the air. I mean, we could talk about Alpine and their crazy lawyer, and I want to know who their lawyer is. Um, but
Me too.
I think we're gonna probably want to start with Red Bull because wow, Red Bull.
How do you, I can't
I'm,
believe it.
I'm
So
saying,
Red Bull, we're gonna.
go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
It's okay. They, where do we even begin with Red Bull? They held a press conference during Mexico to address the fact that they have to pay a fine of 7 million, and Christian Horner, rather than apologizing for the fact that for the overcut the breach of the finances, he just said all the teams over an apology, they haven't done anything wrong. And it's just, I'm looking at it and it's like, sir, read the fucking room. Oh, you got caught, and why does anyone owe you? I mean, why does anyone owe you an apology? You should be the one apologizing. And it's just been insane. And then on top of that, Red Bull have come out to Red Bull, like in the Mexico GP, in the show called Ted's Notebook, which happens after each race. You may have a show that happens after each race. For the US Grand Prix, he just said something making mention about how, just saying that, Red Bull, they liaison with, so like the race director went rogue, and it cost Lewis Hamilton his 8th world championship, which Red Bull benefited from.
This is Ted Kravitz,
And
right?
Ted
That's cool.
Kravitz,
Mm-hmm.
the guy that also sat with the mermaid in Miami, which was cute.
Oh, that was cute.
But they, as a result of that, Red Bull came down hard on him, and they actually put a ban on talking to Sky Sports for the duration of the Mexico GP, which they have actually reinstated in Brazil. The ban's over.
Mm-hmm.
But all these UK publishers and journalists, they rallied behind Ted Kravitz, saying guy did nothing wrong.
No. And sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
you go ahead.
Okay.
You go ahead.
This is gonna be the bit. No, look, listen, Red Bull, they're full of it. Like, I mean, look, I don't understand. Like, I think the audacity, literally the audacity of that man. And it's just insane. Like, you know, I mean, I would love to know what reality he lives in. Because I want to be in that reality.
I want to be in that reality too.
I'm like, I just want to
Like,
be there. Where everything is
same.
like happiness and roses, and they won it legally, and like they won the champ. Like Max Verstappen won the championship without any controversies or anything like that. It's just happy days, flowers, rainbows, and unicorns. Like I really do want to live in that reality. I really do, because like it is literally he's on another planet. Like it's just
And
insane.
the thing is that people are not going to shut up about this because not only, I mean, even though, even though Red Bull, it's kind of not their fault. Like the FIA should have corrected this from the jump. Oh, you okay?
Okay.
Even though like, yeah, technically, like we're dealing with the blowback of what I mean, like it's like the FIA, they kind of should have corrected this from the jump. And in a sense, Red Bull has kind of benefited from it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I mean, they're not going to shut up about this until something is made amends.
Yeah.
And until that happens, like we're just going to go around in circles.
Yeah.
And the thing is that with F1 Twitter, it's gotten out of hand. I mean, Amanda Newey, Adrian Newey's wife, has come out to say that commented under one of the posts, one of the articles about it, saying that, it's caused a lot of people great stress. And then F1 Twitter lost it.
And
really did.
No, look, I mean, I've personally, I don't know if I would have made a comment, but okay. Especially being so that far removed from the whole situation. Like if I was Adrian Newey, maybe, and I'd say something alluding to the fact that my family's been going through a lot. Christian Horner, same thing, but I wouldn't be, Amanda. I would personally, I would just personally not want to invite that into my life. But anyway, I just, the funny thing is that all of this pain and suffering could have ended if the FIA just did their fucking job. That's
exactly.
That's it. Like it's no one's fault. Like literally, if Red Bull is actually, I would say, a little bit of a victim here. I mean, obviously the greater victims are Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton, 100%. But
yeah,
I feel a little bad for Red Bull as well too, because they are suffering through all of this. They've gotten there's so much backlash against them. I mean, like I think even in one Grand Prix, people were calling them cheater and stuff like that. Like it's like they've the emotional and human toll behind it. I do feel bad for that side of the paddock. But like this all could have been avoided if the FIA and the stewards did their job back in Abu Dhabi 2021. And I could not believe that it is almost a year and I am still talking about this, but that is where we've reached, folks. And I feel really, 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 really bad about it. But like, what can we do? Like, honestly, there is still an injustice there. Like, there still is. And it's too late now. I don't think they can give it back to Lewis without causing massive backlash with Red Bull and them deciding, because they will probably want to go to court. Like Mercedes stopped, they were close, but like Red Bull, they will definitely decide, let's do it, let's lawyer up. They'll go. So like
they will go to court.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's like they will go to court. And it's like there's no coming out of this for either party. So the best we can do is just say, you just watch them go. I mean, I don't know there's no coming out of this. It's been a year. It may be too late to correct this. I don't know what the way forward is for the FIA. Because it's like, I don't see any winning here. You can't really come out as, you can't really come out and say what's it what they did wasn't right and correct it. But then to proceed as business as usual, like they did nothing wrong, that's also not the right thing to do here.
Yeah.
So it's just like I don't really, and it's like if only we had known if only they had known the ramifications of what they did back then, maybe this would have been a much different season.
Yeah, because like now look, I mean they've even got we haven't even talked about the penalty that they have gotten, which is I think a bit of a slap of the wrist. £7 million, and then what's it called? 10% less time in the wind tunnel. I mean, I think that's negligible. I feel like they could make that up somewhere. And they still adhere to they can still go up to the cost cap. They just lose out on 10% of wind tunnel time. And so and then Christian Horner was saying this is going to reduce us by this amount of tenths. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, but like you honestly should be saying thank God that's all that you're being affected by, because you have drivers that obviously can make up that difference. I believe you should trust your drivers. I think they can do that, like, and make up the difference in that. But like, I just think that team is something else. And also, please don't be an ass to Ted Kravitz, who's only doing his job. Remember, he is technically a pundit, so he's allowed to have his opinions. It's not necessarily he's not a journalist. We has to have straight up, stay impartial. So like he is allowed to have his feelings around it. That's part of his job credentials. So don't be an ass commenting on his Instagram posts and being annoying. Like, please, like the same energy that we had for Hannah Schmidt, don't do that for Ted Kravitz either. Please, like, leave everybody alone. There are humans that are dealing with this, dealing with the ramifications of the FIA's stupid decision. And so, like, just leave them alone. Amanda Newey too. Leave her alone. I think she gets the point.
She does have a point. Like, it's a mess, and apparently Bernie Ecclestone might have had a hand to play in the negotiations for punishment. So.
Okay, I'm exhausted now. And
I'm exhausted too, man. I thought Eva Lancaster. I thought Lancaster
was in jail.
Not yet. I don't know. Oh shit.
No, that was funny. That was good. Anyway, I'm tired. Let this end. This will end, but let this end. Anyway.
This will never end.
This may never end. This is so depressing.
Maybe, I mean, at this point, I think Selim said this before, but we might have to repeat it again. It will end once Lewis Hamilton retires, Max Verstappen retires, whichever one goes first.
Which I actually have heard reports that Max Verstappen is not dealing with this well at all either. So it actually could be if he retires first. So
I mean, yeah,
he's not doing.
I don't know how. No, I mean I can't blame him. It must be
I can't blame him
frustrated.
Either. Yeah,
frustrating to hear that, but
frustrating to hear that a good chunk of F1 fans are not happy about you being like a driver's champ, like that do not see your championships as legitimate. So
yeah,
that's not. I said, even though he kept saying I don't really give a shit, he gives a shit on some level. I would give it, even if I would care. Like if someone said that the Tony that I win was under, because I paid off someone to watch the show and to give me a favorable result. People will always feel like that Tony is not deserved, and I'll be like, I don't care, I still got my Tony. No, I care. I will care if people say that. Honestly, like deep down inside. I would want
But
to
with
be
these,
theater.
I'm just saying, I mean, I know that I'm not a Broadway head, but aren't these award shows, you got to do a little bit of lobbying behind the scenes. I mean, for Emily and Paris, they actually flew out a bunch of people who were voting for the Golden Globes for 2 days to Paris just like hang out and chill and vibe and also watch the show being filmed. So like, I'm just saying there's a lot of, I mean, yeah, it has to be like, there has to be some credible merit behind the show winning, but hey, you got to do a bit of lobbying, you know?
Yeah, that's just straight up cheating. Emily in Paris pulled a Red Bull. Anyway, that's just straight up cheating. I'm sorry. Emily in Paris is not a decent enough show to have gotten even a nomination. Let's all be very frank about that right then and there. So I'm just
I mean,
calling that cheating.
it's an annoying show. Like you're watching this girl, it's like,
I'm so glad that her microphone somewhat went down and you did not hear all of that. Look, we need to move on from Paris because we are heading to Mexico City. We got to go there. We have to make it there. We got to do that. And we have two amazing people on board for the kind of wild ride. Look, if you are on F1 Twitter, you've probably seen some of their posts around. They are behind some of the funniest, they are definitely fake, text messages about the behind the scenes of what drivers and team principals and maybe the FIA are possibly talking about behind the scenes, behind all the big mishaps that we've had. It is amazing that we have them on the show. It's so great. Please welcome, also from the Slowpitstop podcast, it's Mohammed and Arafat. Woo!
Yay!
Hi guys.
Oh my god.
Hi.
We've never done something on video before. I've never
No.
seen Mohammed's face. This is like Love is Blind, the reveal moment. Finally
Yes!
I'm relieved. I'm
It's
happy.
me.
I'm happy. You know, I had this image built up in my mind, and yeah, no, it's met all my dreams and expectations.
Oh yeah!
We're so glad
can
for
I
you.
say?
Oh my gosh, are we
Mhm,
on?
yeah.
We're on a matchmaking show. I say we put these two together. Oh, man. I'm gonna get rid of all my makeup that I just applied
Arafat.
carefully a minute
We're
ago.
living the dream.
Yeah.
Will you start a podcast with me?
I never thought you'd ask. Oh my gosh, she's disappeared.
Oh my gosh, I am definitely Vanessa Lachey. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I'm with Lachey. Yes!
I don't know what that means because I've never watched the show.
I'm Jessica Simpson. That's all I know.
No, they're the host of the show, but that's a good
Yeah, Jessica. No, but she used to be married to Nick. That's all I know. about Nick Lachey.
Drama. Oh my gosh, that's
Really?
dramatic.
Yeah, Jessica
What did I
Simpson.
miss?
Jessica Simpson was married to Nick Lachey like many years ago.
Yeah,
That was the
Yeah.
original MTV reality show. It was called Newlyweds. It was about
That's
those two.
right. There you go,
That is
Arafat. That's how I know we're meant to be
Wait,
together.
Before Keeping Up
Back
with the
that you rolled that.
Kardashians, there was Newlyweds,
Exactly,
which was about
Newlyweds.
Nick,
Good
whatever his face is,
times.
and Jessica Simpson.
Wait,
Nick
you
Lachey.
you didn't know about this?
Oh no,
It's too young.
I knew
Too
about
young.
this. I dropped out, came in, and then I realized what was going on. And it's like, I don't know that day, those times. I was a baby. I was a kid back then, but no, good times. Takes you back. It was a much simpler time.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
the boots were made for walking kind of time.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
And the
that was
advent
you
of
did a
reality
pretty good job of that
TV.
cover, actually, I will say. Anyway, guys, it is so wonderful having you on the show. Thank you so much for being here. First of all, can we ask, how did you guys get into Formula One? Where did it all begin?
I bullied Mohammed into it,
Great.
basically.
Arafat got a job as Lewis Hamilton's personal attendant and didn't know who he was. And so that's how he got into Formula One.
That's not how that happened.
Is that true? Is that true?
No.
Oh my god, I like had a heart attack for 2 seconds. I'm like, are you wild? Like, how? How? Okay, the real reason how you got into Formula One.
Arafat, you go first because my story starts much later.
Leads on from mine, yeah. So way back in the day, 2007, when I was at uni, I started watching Formula One 2007 because of Lewis. Like it was just on, it sounds weird, but it was on the radio all the time. And I used to listen to the radio a lot. And in the news segment, it's like, oh, this young guy is doing this and this. And I was like, oh, what's going on? So I tuned in to watch. And then 2009, I was doing a project at university and it was like a self-selected, you can do whatever you want. So I said, okay, I'll do mine about dehydration and Formula One drivers. So I emailed all the teams. I emailed Ferrari, Renault. I said, hey, can someone just help me out with this project? And honestly, my goal for the whole thing was to maybe just get a conversation with someone. None of the teams got back to me, apart from Red Bull, who said, thank you for applying, but we can't facilitate anything like this at this time. And then McLaren got in touch and said, why don't you come down and talk to us about it? So I went down to McLaren, had an interview, and then next thing I know, for a few years, I was interning with the team doctor there. So I was like the medical student to Lewis's team doctor. So that's where I met Lewis, in the McLaren canteen. I met Jensen. He used to do dehydration planning and things like that for them. So those are good times. But I was like, at my friends, I was the only person that liked Formula One. So my cousin Mohammed, I kept bullying him into trying to get him to watch it with me. And it took like over 10 years.
Yeah, I think 2012 was, I think, the first exposure I had to Formula One. 2012, I watched the Ayrton Senna documentary, and that was when I first found out what Formula One was. But yeah, then for the next 7 years, he kept telling me to watch Formula One. And I was like, is there even anything exciting in Formula One? Little did I know, I was missing some of his best years of racing back then. In 2019, Arafat told me to tune in and watch the United States Grand Prix. I believe that was the year Lewis won his championship in America. And so I watched that race, also because you don't need a subscription to Sky or the US Grand Prix is always on normal TV that anyone can watch. And then from the 2020 season onwards, I was watching it fully. And then I watched Drive to Survive when that came out because Arafat told me, oh, watch this documentary, it'll catch you up. So I was watching that kind of as with the 2020 season. Then I learned to hate Drive to Survive, and I've been a diehard fan ever since.
Oh, this is such a sweet story, actually.
Not really. I was living a very happy life without the constant week-to-week pain that Arafat has put me through. I often think if I didn't know anything about Formula One, I would be happy right now instead of this perpetual depression that Arafat has brought me into.
Well, look, when we started this podcast, I was following it, but I wasn't adamantly watching the races because I think around that time I kept moving around and things like that. So it's hard for me to keep track of when the races actually were. Then we started this podcast, and one of the rules is that you obviously have to watch the race before we jump on the show. And
we did an episode where neither of us had watched the race.
I had to guess what was going on.
You're vibes.
Because I think I was at work and you were in a plane, so both of us missed it.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. I mean, that happens. I mean, we have that rule, because we're always all over the place. So we sometimes miss the race for whatever reason. I mean, I feel last season that was a lot of that for me because I was always on a plane. But honestly, because I've been watching it so closely, I have not known peace. Every time I jump on at work, I'm just I wasted a million hours staying up late or waking up early just to watch fuck all. So I mean, I'm just I'm miserable, but you know what? It's fine.
No.
I mean, it is what it is. But yeah.
It
Sorry.
is what it is.
So you're gonna say something?
No, I was just about to say I annoy some of my coworkers about F1 constantly. So it's like it's like that. Following along, you need someone to talk to about it. My friends hear about it. My mom hears about it. Hey, our mom hears about it. You should have seen her celebrating when Max Verstappen won in the US.
So weird. So
Time-
I am emancipating. That's it. I am filing for emancipation from now. Please let our mother know that I am filing for emancipation. I know I'm old enough to already stand on my own 2 feet, but let me just make it formal. Let's just clear it there. I do not have a mother anymore. The end. Finish. No. So, wow. I mean, like this. This is actually one of the coolest stories that we've heard about how people got into Formula One. It's incredible. Obviously, we kind of have an idea of who you guys follow and who's your team. But just for people that may or may not need clarification, can you let us know what team you are fave of?
I support Latifi. He drives a Mercedes engine.
Amen. Go team!
I pointed the wrong way because the screen's mirrored. The screen's mirrored. But no, I'm obviously a big Lewis Hamilton fan.
Yeah. So I was gonna give a funny answer, but I'm just gonna say the truth. Then I'm a huge Toto Wolff fan and Lewis Hamilton. Mercedes, yeah, we're Mercedes fans. Get that out of the way.
No, I'm a Lewis Hamilton fan. If he moved to Ferrari tomorrow, I would be all up in here in the red gear, waving my Italian flag.
That was us in the beginning of the season. We were like Tifosi, and then we were like, no, we're not Tifosi.
No, that's what we were like too. Honestly, we were like, listen, so anyone, we didn't have a chance. So like, let the Tifosi take it. We are team like Ferrari, like everything. And then they started bungling it, and then they're like, well, why? Now I understand why they're always so upset. I'm sorry. Which, by the way, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I was just about to say eventually it becomes a lot more fun making fun of them than following them. So where's that? Kofi Leclerc, if you're watching this, we are really sorry. Okay. We're sorry for what we said. Yeah.
By the way, that is not his last name, but he is a massive child and a full seat fan. And we've been making fun of him basically this entire season. Yeah. Go back and watch our Emiliana Romana show. He was on it.
Yes.
So look, we have a bit to discuss, kind of, not really. We have to talk about Mexico because this was a choice. We can start with qualifying. So pole was Max Verstappen, second was George Russell, and Lewis Hamilton was third, which for Mercedes, that's pretty impressive because like Mexico is not a track that is not historically suited to them. So like I was surprised by that result. But what also surprised me was that Bottas has out-qualified a Ferrari.
Yeah, I think Ferrari had their engines turned down to like 60% because of reliability issues. But what people are forgetting about qualifying is that Lewis was on fire and was legitimately fighting for pole. He was the fastest for almost the entire thing, almost every single run until the last run. He was the fastest, which leads me to believe that his final run, he chose to be P3 to give him the slipstream up into turn 1 because he was consistently faster than Verstappen. And I really think that was the only way that, that he did it on purpose. That's my theory.
I don't know how you would orchestrate that. Like, it makes sense.
He is a 7-time world champion. If he wants P3, he can immediately, maneuver himself into P3. Definitely.
Yeah.
The Ferrari thing, so my understanding is their turbo is really small, which is one of their advantages this year. They have a really small turbo, so they save on weight and space, but it needs a lot of electric energy and it produces a lot of heat. So in the high altitude, it wasn't working for them, so they had to deliberately turn that down. What I will say is Bottas is also driving a car with a Ferrari engine, so he would have had to make compromises too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think legitimately he was just very, very good. I think all the downforce and everything that comes into it, Mexico is a little bit of a leveler because
Yeah.
there's no air. So
but
the
even
driver
Red
skill
Bull,
comes through, and Bottas has been a good qualifier.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole thing about it not being traditionally a Mercedes track, I think right now everything is flipped on its head. When did we ever think about Red Bull as the fastest in a straight line? But that's who they are now. So I think everything is flipped on its head. So this whole idea of traditionally Mercedes track, traditionally Red Bull track, all of that is out the window now.
Yeah.
And what we saw at Mexico was driver talent coming through.
Yeah.
And Valtteri's always been good on Saturday. So I think that's just what happened.
And even Red Bull was slowed down too. That's one of the reasons Mercedes got closer to Red Bull, is because their straight line speed was diminished because they don't have the same ground effect because the air is so thin. So you're right, Mexico was like a big leveler. And I think people coming into Mexico were predicting that, but I don't think anybody like at the start of the season would have certainly thought that Mercedes would be competitive. You look at the tracks Mercedes were competitive at. It's like Zandvoort, Mexico. Like these are places that usually you wouldn't, per last year's rules, they wouldn't be. So you never know. I don't even know. They're saying Mercedes won't be good in Brazil, but I don't know. They may be very strong in Brazil. Who knows?
That's actually a really good point. Because I didn't realize that as well too. Because at the Dutch Grand Prix they were actually very competitive, and I'm wondering if it has to do with the new formula. That is probably. I mean, it probably does. I mean, like it's mostly a factor, but like the new formula probably have definitely helped. Has flipped things around and made things a bit more tricky for all the teams as well. So I didn't think about it from that perspective. That was actually really cool.
Yeah, they're really fast now in the slow speed corners, whereas that was Red Bull's like strength for many, many years, was the slow speed corners. So it's basically flipped itself.
Yeah. No, I mean, I didn't think that way. Sorry. I keep cutting you off. I'm so sorry.
I was just about to say, like, maybe this is one of the underrated nice things about the season. You're starting to we're watching new trends come up.
Yeah.
And it just has a little bit more of a spice to this season, Now especially with those 4 races that we didn't get to see, that we didn't see in the last 2 years. It's like now it's anybody's game because we don't really have much data on that now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I think if I wasn't a Lewis fan, or if Lewis had retired, I would have been enjoying this a lot more. I am enjoying it. I'll come on to him at the end, but I am enjoying it. But I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more.
Yeah. I mean, like, when you have steak, when you have sauce in the game, for lack of a better word, or something like that, I think it's harder to and your team is not, or your driver is not doing as well as you'd like them to. I think it's much harder to kind of rally than it is, for someone who is just vibes and either knows that their driver's not going to do well, or doesn't have a much of a competitive edge, or is just watching it for the first time. My vocal coach, funny enough, she's into Formula One now thanks to her husband, who was a DTS fan and then started actually watching the races. And she was watching along for, was it the US? She watched it for the US Grand Prix. And she's like, oh, so close. Don't worry. Lewis has 3 more chances to win. And I said, well, it's 1.5. But you know what? Marissa, you might be right. He might have actually 2 more chances to win. So thank you so much for that.
Sorry, I was about to agree with you on that. I was talking to one of my old mentors, and she's now into Formula One after watching DTS. And she loves Charles Leclerc. I'm just like, I'm so sorry about Charles Leclerc. She's like, it's okay, we'll get him back. We'll get back.
Get back where? Anyway, sorry.
Now I have to apologize to her again.
If Lewis doesn't win in Brazil, and then we get to Abu Dhabi, and Max is a million miles in the lead, and we're like, oh, we've gone a whole season without winning a race. That record is broken now. And gets to the last couple of laps, Latifi hits the wall. There's a safety car, and this time the positions are reversed. And
Oh,
Lewis gets to overtake Max on the last lap with fresh tires. And in a lot of sense, it doesn't mean anything. The championship is over and all of that. But to get the win of the season that way, I think would be perfect.
That would be a lot of karma. That would be like just desserts kind of thing. And then I think everyone, and I feel like a lot of fans would be like, okay, Team LH, you can rest. He got his win the
Yeah.
way you want, like he's supposed to win last time. Please come
Yeah.
down, and we're like, never. We need the championship. But anyway,
Yeah.
that
I
would
mean, if that
probably be-
happens that way, I'll just start playing "What Goes Around Comes Around" by Justin Timberlake for the entire week on repeat.
You know, earlier in the season last year on one of our podcasts, Arafat said that I think, you know, the entire season is going to be determined on the last corner of the last lap of Abu Dhabi. And that's what ended up happening. And I think Arafat saying it now, I think is a true prediction. And that's what's going to actually happen. So
I
love
when it
that
happens, come back to this episode, people
Yeah.
listening. When it happens, and you'll be like, yep,
I
Arafat who said that.
I would rather that happen in Brazil. So I am just hoping that the Brazilian Grand Prix actually goes ahead, because that might not happen because of the fact that they just had an election. They had the runoff to their presidential election. Lula won. Bolsonaro did not. No one knows if he's going to concede. And apparently some of the trucks for the cars are being held up because of things happening down there. So just please.
Actually, they've come
Oh,
out to
it'll happen.
say-
Bernie Eccleston will get like a private plane, get everyone in, and then he'll be like, by the way, guys, this election you're having, we all know I'm the real king of Brazil. You just decide this amongst yourselves, and the race will go ahead. Don't worry about it.
If F1 can race in Saudi Arabia like 20 minutes after a missile strike hit the paddock, then they will race in Brazil regardless of whatever kind of political upheaval is going on.
True, actually.
It's true.
That's very
I
true.
believe it.
That is very
Like-
true.
Don't make it happen, especially when there's money at stake.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What money is, cash is king. Anyway,
Yeah.
let's go on to the actual race. But there's not much to talk about actually there. Also, to Charles Leclerc.
The lights went out, people went round, the race ended. Good show, guys, honestly.
Yes.
Really enjoyed this. Make sure you check us out at Slowpitstop on Spotify and Twitter.
Yeah,
See you
and
next
then we'll see you
time.
later for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Take care. No, we are not done. First off, happy 100 GP to Charles Leclerc. Congratulations on that milestone. We wish you were winning this championship at this point, rather than wherever you're at the moment. Like, it was just a pretty straightforward race. I think like Mercedes tried some things, it didn't work. Red Bull, like that, like Verstappen's pace is intense. It just,
I mean, the way I
have-
see.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mohammed.
I was gonna say I have full faith in Andrew Shovlin, and I am content. I'm still waiting for the mediums to drop off, and I think the hards will kick in any second now.
yeah.
That's what we all thought. That's what we all thought.
Yeah, any second now. Any second now.
I was just about to say that after that beautiful rendition of the Mexican anthem,
Oh yeah.
the children did, the race fell off.
Mhm.
It was just like, yeah. I mean, there's not really much to talk about, honestly.
I mean, so like Mexico isn't really a track usually for overtaking, but there was some overtaking this year because Daniel made his way through the field, and there was a couple battles down in the midfield. But I think up in the front, I think Red Bull was just too. I think they just had the pace to hold Mercedes off, and I don't even think if it was a Ferrari. I just don't think for the battle for the lead. I think as soon as Lewis didn't take the lead into turn one, I think that was kind of the end of the fight.
yeah.
Yeah.
I am.
mean,
What can you do?
I mean, I am a little surprised that Sergio wasn't able to get Lewis in the end. I honestly thought that was going to end up being a 1-2, a Red Bull 1-2.
I
Yeah.
thought so too.
And this is what I'm talking about earlier. You know, when I said I'm enjoying it but not enjoying it. So I'm gutted that Lewis didn't win, but actually watching him drive so hard, fight for that second place, and in an inferior car be able to hold off Sergio Perez, I think is really impressive and is, you know, inspiring. And all the reasons we liked watching Lewis all the way back from 2007, the dreadful year of 2011, all of that, all of those things are still present now.
Yeah. I think it was really funny when like he was talking to Bono on the radio and he's like, "What is my gap to Max?" And he was like, "It's 10 seconds now." And then Bono was like, "Do you want to hear your gap to Perez?" And he's like, no, I don't really care about that." Like, because I'm not under threat from Sergio. I can handle that. I thought that was pretty funny.
That is pretty funny, actually.
And to be fair, he did actually handle it. So
yeah, he did have it handled. So
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some good racing this season, but we haven't had like our big explosive, you know, grid is jumbled up and some random person wins. We haven't had that. And I don't know, like I feel like usually every year you have one very chaotic race. Like even 2019, it was Brazil as well. Max Verstappen won that, but there's so much carnage going on.
Yeah.
And like every year has something. I don't know. It's weird.
I'm trying to think back to Azerbaijan. That usually is always the one that messes people up because that one was a bit chaotic this year, and Sergio Perez ended up winning that one, right? But like,
the only thing that was broken in Azerbaijan was Lewis's back because he herniated.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm damn porpoising. God damn it.
It's not a good thing. I hope Mercedes has actually sorted themselves out with that.
They have. I think now I mean, and like, you know, I think that's also the impressive thing as well, too, now going into Brazil, is that like Mercedes is like a few points away from taking P2 in the constructors. That is surprising, you know, and that
without winning a race.
Without winning a race. Whereas Ferrari has won races, but has also had a lot of reliability issues. And are now struggling, and even this race struggled a little bit. I mean, it's kind of wild, actually.
Arafat,
I saw some weird stat online, which was like, it's been more than 100 days since Ferrari won a race.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that's why I put that tweet out where it was like, it's been 5,000 and however many days since Ferrari won a championship.
Well, Arafat, I got to tell you something, or I got to have you guess. But I don't know, guess. I have a fact that I want to throw out to everyone in the room. The last time in this season that a Red Bull driver was not on the podium, can you guys guess when that was?
First race.
Yeah, Bahrain, in which both their drivers DNF'd. Ever since Bahrain, since the second race of the season, there's been a Red Bull driver on the podium every single race. That's crazy.
God.
That's a level of like, yeah, that's like 2013 Seb Vettel like domination vibes right there. So
that's the same number of races that Latifi scored points in.
Oh my gosh! Oh my word! No, that is actually a pretty wild statistic. I mean, like, you know, Max just broke the record for most wins in a season, so that does track. But like, I didn't realize the dominance of Red Bull was that. Yo, that's dreadful.
Since we, like, everybody's seen the race, they know what happened. Since we're not really getting into lots of interesting nitty-gritty details, can I play a little game of what if with you?
Ooh,
so I was thinking about this and I was like, the last time Red Bull upset me was when Vettel was dominating.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But I think the problem with Red Bull is probably Christian Horner and Helmut Marko and how they come across in the media and things, right? There's going to be lots of really good employees at Red Bull who are just doing an amazing job. And they're like, why are these idiots in charge talking like this? People hate us. And I'm just trying to do a job here. So I think really when those two move and Red Bull gets a new identity, the way like Ron Dennis left and Zach Brown's remolded McLaren into something different.
Like that. Yeah.
A future Red Bull may be less of the pantomime villain of Formula One. But we saw Vettel go from annoying to one of the most respected people on the track. But I think a lot of that was growing up. It must be really hard for these drivers, you know, as much as we make fun of Verstappen and things, he's been on TV since he was like 17 years old. And I remember when Lewis was, you know, really struggling in 2011, talking to the people at McLaren and the team, and one of them brought it up. He goes, a lot of the things that Lewis is doing wrong, you would have done wrong in your personal life at uni, behind closed doors, or learned those lessons. And he's trying to struggle through all his personal life while drive at the top level. So there's a little bit of me that's like, okay, what do I want for Verstappen? Because he's clearly extremely talented. And I thought it would be quite funny if the punishment on Red Bull was so severe, you know, from this cost cap thing. I don't think it necessarily needs to be, but imagine it was so severe that Verstappen left Red Bull and went to Ferrari and was the guy that finally won a world championship for Ferrari.
It might have happened. I think if he hadn't won, or if Red Bull wasn't competitive in 2021, I think he would have left the team. He was like already talking about leaving the team.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, you know, if I don't think it will, but if this penalty really slows Red Bull down in 2024, imagine 2025 Verstappen in a Ferrari, because that would be whole new era. Like, we're probably approaching the point where maybe Lewis retires, hopefully with an 8th championship, and then new era of Formula One, new identity Red Bull that we don't have to hate as much. Verstappen in a Ferrari, rebuilding himself. Like, he might have won 2-3 championships by that point. But the challenge of trying to win one championship at Ferrari is completely different.
I have a question on that. Do you think that the opposite might happen? Because let's remember when Vettel went over to Ferrari, he was basically pretty much at his prime, and he decided, I've always wanted to drive for the Scuderia, I'm going. It broke the man. That man was a
and it broke Alonso. It broke Alonso. Like, who has not gone to Ferrari and been broken? They broke Alain Prost. They broke Fernando Alonso. They broke Sebastian Vettel. Schumacher managed it. Who else? Who else has gone?
Is Charles Leclerc broken yet?
Leclerc right now.
Like, Leclerc is breaking. Leclerc is there. And then, so Leclerc is breaking. Signs. If you look at that look in his face, like, clearly that is the look of a man that is breaking. I mean, I put it on Twitter the other day. And like, Ferrari uploaded this from their personal, like, Twitter account. They were like, hey, it's Wallpaper Wednesday. Look at the trauma in our drivers' eyes. Like, they uploaded this themselves.
I don't know if you can see.
Oh
my gosh.
You can see the pain and the PTSD.
It's just like, I am
this is the official wallpaper Ferrari have put out. Look at the trauma in his face.
Like, that's brooding. That is, I am in pain. Like,
that's the thing. I think to be able to then be the person that says, I won a championship with Ferrari now after 5,000 days of no one managing it, I think will count for a lot, because you'll be able to go and say, I did what Alonso couldn't. I did what Vettel couldn't. And that puts me into another league.
That's true.
That's true. But to be fair, Niki Lauda broke Ferrari.
That was the 70s. Say.
I mean, that was true.
Why do I feel like
as a driver, or when he was chairman of Mercedes? Because both I could accept.
Yes! Zing! I agree. I think, honestly, the day that, like, Christian Horner, I feel like, steps down, and possibly Hermit Marko, actually, both of them step down, I feel like the Red Bull culture will be a lot, and, like, outlook would be a lot more easier to digest. Because at the moment...
Yeah, because I think the actual employees are fine.
Yes, they are. And really amazing. We talked about Hannah Schmidt. We've stanned her on our Instagram. We love her. Like, they're great. There is one guy in the pit that I think is he has dreadlocks. He is, like, amazing. Like, I think he's from Max Verstappen's pit. Like
what's his name? Cam Nichols, I think.
You know his name?
Oh yeah, he's on Instagram. He's very prolific.
Oh goodness.
I am okay. No, stop. I will go down a rabbit hole. I can't. Anyway, but like,
it's okay.
Like, I won't do it.
I mean, we went down.
I won't do it. We will go. I mean, like, you know, they have great employees. I think, yeah, they are being run by two macho machismo idiots that feel the need to talk, you know, plenty, plenty. And you know what? This ban that they have on Sky Sports has been well received. In fact, they should keep it forever. Because if Sky Sports are the ones that are going to have to do the English translation of stream of like the of F1, I don't want to see them. I every time like every time Warner comes on, I just need to mute my television. I'm sorry. I'm just like I can't do it. I really can't do it with him. So like, you know what? Keep it up. This is actually a plus for you don't know how much this is helping us with this race as well too. But look, guys, we have to wrap up. And I think actually we made it to a good spot because you know, you already kind of started to go into this, but how are you feeling about this overall race and, you know, the season? I know there were predictions made, which I'm definitely gonna clip that for future reference.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think? Final thoughts.
Arafat, you go first so I can use your thoughts and make them sound better.
Yeah. So on our podcast this week, if anyone's gonna have a listen, I did
We
like an
checked it
8-minute non-stop like monologue about my thoughts because I think it is complicated. I think as fans we do feel upset. Sometimes we feel angry, but then we need to remember and be inspired. One of I bring this up a lot. One of the races that Lewis ran that inspired me the most was in Korea when he was fighting for 10th place. Sergio Perez was chasing him down, and he had like AstroTurf attached to his car. Anyone else would have retired that car, but Lewis fought for a single point. And you know, he's had 103 wins. I don't remember all the wins, but I remember that race. And sometimes that inspirational fight for 10th place sticks in the mind more than a win. So it really, really sucks that Lewis hasn't won a race this year, but he's continued to inspire us every race apart from Belgium. That was his fault. But generally, he's continued to inspire us and become better and better and better. And I hope he gets more success in the future.
Yeah, my thoughts about this race are that the season ended like in Bahrain. So I've just kind of been watching. I've just kind of been watching Formula One. I've just been watching, but I'm excited for what next year will bring because it's very clear to me Lewis has not lost any bit of talent. He's not at his like he hasn't gone over his peak. He's definitely still at his prime. He still has that killer instinct, and I know that the W13 is going to get a lot better next year. They've figured out the underlying aerodynamic flaws, and they just need to put all their knowledge together. Toto Wolff says he can trace back the decision, the exact day that they put together that made the W13 bad. That's how well they know the car now. So my hope is that the W14 will be a lot better, and I'm already looking towards next season. And I've already sort of come to terms with Lewis not winning a race, and I think it's just something that we fans made a big deal that maybe was never really a big deal. We just made it a big deal. So I'm okay if he doesn't win a race. I'm very excited for next season. Yeah, it's been a very tremendous one race season in Formula One. Bahrain was incredible.
Yeah.
The way Lewis grabbed that podium, amazing.
Brilliant. Yeah. One last thing I'll add is I still think, despite not winning a race this year, Lewis, like I still think his worst year was 2011, where he did win races. So I think winning doesn't necessarily equal being the best person and driver you can be. And I think Lewis is stronger now than he was back then.
This is definitely the worst car he's ever driven, though. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
That car almost broke the man, honestly. No, that is actually really sorry to say. What were you about to say?
I was saying that car needs to be driven into the bottom of the ocean.
Set on fire and driven into the bottom of the ocean. That's it. Mariana Trench, it goes. Anyway, no, I think that is actually a very beautiful note to end, especially for Team LH fans. I think we have built up this whole, oh my God, he's not going to win a race this season kind of thing. And I mean, like, you know, we have to take for granted the wins that he has had. So I think that's very, very, very special as well. But thank you guys both for joining. This has been
Thank you for having us.
This
Oh,
has been
thank you
so
for
much
having
fun.
us.
This is
Yeah, I had a
great.
lot
It has
of
been a
fun.
great
To when you come on
time.
our pod.
Yes, absolutely. We will
Yeah.
be there. Honestly, I mean, and it will be more fun if like all of us are on. It will be a bit more
Yeah.
chaotic, but like yes, definitely,
Yeah.
we would love to be on your podcast.
Yes, please.
As we lead into, we always actually ask what you want to plug. Do you want to do the spiel? You've already spoken about it a little bit. About slow pit stop.
Oh yeah. So we do a podcast called Slowpitstop. Find us anywhere you want. Spotify, Apple, Google. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter at slowpitstop.com. What do I want to plug? Crunchy Nut cornflakes. They're really good. You should try them.
Ooh.
What other products would I like to plug? Ferrari road cars. I have no personal products to plug, so I'm just thinking of other things. Pretzels. Pretzels are always nice.
Ooh, we like
So go out and get
pretzels.
some pretzels.
Yeah.
Mohammed, can you think of any products we should be plugging?
Yeah, I need to plug my laptop in because the battery's at like 20%. But I think I'll make it to the end of the episode. I do want to say that listen to Slow Pit Stop. We are the #1 most average Formula One podcast in the world, and I'm very proud of that statistic.
That is a great statistic, honestly.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Great
we can
statistic.
get that. I mean, like, there's no higher spot than #1. So, like, you're already there.
Yeah.
No, but
Number
you're
one
more
most
than
average.
average. You guys do a great job as well, too. You really need to check them out. We will definitely be linking them in all of our promotions. Thank you guys so much for joining the show. We will see you guys in 2 weeks for Brazil. Yeah. We're
Woo,
here.
bye, everyone.
Until then, bye.
Bye.